Welcome back to the channel and another episode in our complete course-ish construction series. And in this one, I've not done anything much more to 14 or what was 14. I've just renumbered the holes for playtesting. We're going to look at 15. I kind of want to get more holes in the ground now so that when I'm looking big picture, I know which ones I think I want to change, which ones don't flow so well, which ideas are repeated, etc., etc., etc. So 15 is the one that I've got an idea for. I want to go with that. I think I want to leave 17 and 18 till kind of a little bit later as well. And 10 is probably going to be the very last one we do. As things stand, there's only 4 holes I need left to actually do for first passes. Then the question comes of which ones you remodel, and that's a long process. So 15, what I want it to be conceptually is it's a long par 4, like your standard US Open par 4. It's also uphill, like to the tune of about 40 feet. And it features this kind of, you're getting back up onto this ridgeline that you then play down on 16. And you've got the barranca kind of, or low point on the right of the hole most of the way. So what I think I want this one to be is there's a dip in the fairway here. That's going to be the main challenge. So it's kind of squeezing your tee shot a bit between the dip and the bunkers on this side. And then the approach shot, though, has this little swale just in front of the green. We're going to incorporate that and a bit of a bunker complex so that if you do hug the right-hand side off the tee, you kind of play through that, but also the slope of the green going this way, you get a bit more of a preferential angle coming in that way. So if you're coming in from this way, when you're kind of going a bit more down those slopes, the green's going away from you. It's just generally a bunker tucked in this side. It's a little bit harder. So the question is whether I even need these bunkers. I feel like I possibly do, or at least one of them, and angles and how much width I really allow with this one. It's also how we use the barranca. It's how straight I make the hole. The more I dogleg it, the more the challenge of hitting the fairway is, but the less the angles are going to be able to be accessed. If you think about it, if you hit a driver through here, well, it might land here, but it's going to roll through to about here. On an angled fairway, the more you do that, the more everything ends up on this side because of how the ball rolls out. On a straighter fairway, if I land it here, I'm staying more this side. If I land it here, staying more this side. So there's benefits to probably making this a bit of a straighter hole as well. And I'm not averse to working with the land as we go with it as in addition. So yeah, we can do some ideas stuff, I think, in this episode and setting down general surfacing and then see where we go from there. Okay, so I've been sitting and staring at this screen for a couple of minutes, having it on pause, and I think I'm pivoting on the idea a little bit. Um, I kind of like that there's a kicker slope here and this like little swale here, but I'm not really sure if it's producing that unique or interesting of a golf hole. If you play to this side or this side, like there's a really wide fairway, it's kind of flat. I'm trying to work out how I can make that a little bit more interesting. One of the ideas I've always kind of wanted to be trying on this course was more of a hog's back entrance. And it strikes me that this is kind of doing it. You've got this little kind of area here that's running the ball down to the green. You've got a swale that's kicking it further right if you're not careful. And you've got a bunker at the base of this depression here as well. So part of me is wondering whether I just buy into that idea. And I think I probably will at this point. Now, one thing I'm aware of is I kind of thought about this concept on 11. Because I've been considering that and whether that's too different. I think here it's very subtle. You've got a little bit of a, like you can land it here, or if you land it too far to the right, it just goes off. But basically, anywhere left of here is fine. And it's not so much that you're using it to direct it either left or right. It's more just, if it goes there, it goes on the green. If it goes there, it doesn't. So I kind of want this as more of a directional helper. And I think for a longer par 4, that makes a bit of sense. What that probably means as well, rather than the green kind of rising up, I think we're going to make this a running shot. So therefore, everything running away. So front to back green on a relatively long hole, but it makes sense with the land that's around it. So I'm okay with that. And then more of a just to get to the center of the green, you stay on this kind of spine, which I think will be interesting in controlling absolute accuracy. But then you can feed it either left or right, depending on where on this you hit, with a bunker down here and then the ravine on this side as well. So I think that's the way I'm going to go with it. It makes more sense to me and it seems a bit more fitting for this piece of land. Kind of as I've discussed before, if you find something that's natural and like looks specific to this part of the plot, go with that because you can create interest elsewhere by bunkering or whatever. If you've got something that the game is or the land is just throwing you, go with that. So we're going to try and remodel, but that's the reasoning for the change. Okay, so that last shot is a great example of what we're trying to achieve. Now, with this one, it's trying to make it play a little bit differently. You hug the bunker over this side, you get a look from around about here, so it's a little bit manufactured between the two bunkers, but it's kind of what you've got to do for major. Then you've got to be hitting off this slope, and you will run on towards this pit. And obviously, green sculpting needs a good bit of work. This part way too severe currently. Haven't yet worked out how this bit of fairway is going to work. This bunker's going to have to be super thin and probably coming out a little bit more here to enable this to be a little bit wider. But we'll see how that can work. If you go too far right on this fairway, you are rolling off. If you go down the middle, you're probably ending up in the right on this kind of flat portion. So I kind of want to direct you to one or two parts. Either you end up there, or you end up there, or you can kind of go middle-ish. But short and right's no good, which judging with the elevation's difficult. Short and left, no good. Short and middle, fine. You're going to end up rolling down into this part. That's kind of where we're going with it. So it's kind of the similar... It's always tricky with this because it's kind of a similar level of challenge to other holes and similar theme as to how we're going with it, like slightly sloping fairways and big hazard on the right, stuff like that. But it is a bit different in terms of how it's doing it with the bunkering. So hopefully feels cohesive, but still a little bit varied. And I think that approach shot's going to be a lot of fun. Actually, I was 50-50 about 5 minutes ago as to whether I'd keep it. But I think we're getting somewhere with it. It's then whether I want another little bunker just to make you think if you do have to lay up, or how we want to play this with, like, I don't know, maybe high plateau that then funnels down here as an option. There's different ways we can deal with this, but that can come later. You'll also see I've started planting some trees just to get an idea of scale and how this is all working. And those two bunkers in front, I think, will make it interesting visually, and they stack pretty nicely with these two. For the hole as long as this, you kind of want to eat up the empty space and play with a bit of optical illusion bunkering. So although there's 35 yards between those, it's not going to really look like that. And although there's 60 yards between those two, it's not going to, well, it will still look like a decent amount, but imagine if one of these wasn't here, there'd be an awful lot of empty space. So it's just being careful with that. And then what we'll probably do is just bring the fairway back down here as well. And then that fills up a good amount of the space as well. And there you go. That's kind of where we'll go with this hole. So yeah, a little bit more surfacing time. Well, in case you can't tell, I really can't face doing bunker shaping and sculpting right now. Hence why we've kind of frittered around doing all sorts of frivolous stuff. And I kind of figure that's probably worth people seeing. Like, you've got to be in the mood to do certain things. And like, if you're not feeling totally inspired with that, just set it down and don't do it. So this might have been a little bit shorter than I was anticipating, but I'm happy with. I genuinely have no idea how long the episodes are lasting at this point, and it's going to vary from one to one. I'm pretty happy with how this one's looking, though. I think the tee shot's interesting and challenging with wind. It's kind of a like just in the fairway's fine, but you've got preferential angles and like there's interest there, but you're not dead if you're not in the center of the fairway or in exactly the right spot, which I think is good. And then it's kind of all on that approach shot, which again does something a little bit different. It's a big green, which is kind of because of the way the middle tier kind of sheds balls left and right. It's going to be pretty difficult to find the right part of it, I think. Which again is interesting because there's not a huge amount of crazy slopes on there. So I like how that's playing. It's a good balance to some of the other fours, and it's a nice one to make a longer four. It then means I did toy with this punch bowl idea down here a while ago, but I think it then means that this can stand on its own as a different challenge. And yeah, I'm happy that this one's doing something a little bit different at least. And yeah, and then I just started doing some housing stuff, and because I saw that that needed doing, and trying to work out where the entry points are and ticket officers. It's usually a pretty good sign that I'm getting bored with what I'm doing at this point in time and need to set it down and go and do something else. So yeah, hopefully kind of interesting. What I'll probably do is I'm going to do a lot of the bunker sculpting and shaping probably offline, because not offline, but not on video, because that's really tedious and boring and bring you back at certain points if there's anything interesting. But otherwise, I think for all intents and purposes, this one I've got most of where I want it to be, and I might just bring you back in for playtesting. See you again soon.